So I'm going to talk about this Karaniya Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness, because today is the 24-hour Metta. So we're going to just cover this sutta. Who have not read this sutta before? Or read before? Okay, so this is rather popular kind of chant. I would say all Theravada traditions sort of will chant this. It's part of their chanting curriculum. So the Thai Buddhists will chant this, Sri Lankan Buddhists will chant this, the Burmese Buddhists also chant this. So it's like compulsory. So it has like a significant meaning in all these traditions. But it has a backdrop. So there's like a commentarial story. That means the prelude to this sutta. That means how this teaching came to be is because of some monks. They were meditating in the forest. Then it is believed some tree spirits, kacau them. The tree spirits don't welcome them. The unseen beings are very territorial creatures. So when you come to a new place, they find they're not happy with you, then they will try to scare you away. So they manifest in scary images and try to scare the monks away. So the monks cannot meditate, in the forest cannot meditate, always kind of scared. So they went back to the Buddha, and the Buddha gave them this, instruction, which is this Karaniya Metta Sutta. So afterwards, the monks went back to the same forest, they meditated, then somehow the tree spirits are at peace with them, then they're okay, so they can continue their practice. So that's the backdrop of the story. So some people think that this chant is an exorcism chant. So actually no, it's meant to cultivate, practice and become, develop loving kindness. It's not to chase ghosts away. So that's the idea. Okay, so we are going to just read this. I'll just read the first paragraph. One skilled in good, wishing to attain that state of peace. So in this first sentence, wishing to attain the state of peace basically is talking about right view or right understanding. The purpose of practicing this loving kindness is to achieve Nibbana, the highest peace. I would say some folk culture or some folk religion, they'll mix this concept of metta, then they sell the amulet, they'll tell you, this amulet is a metta amulet. When you wear it, it will attract people of the opposite gender to you, something like that. Or you want to improve your interpersonal relationship, then you buy this metta amulet. So that is the concept of metta, but no. So the understanding or the objective is to reach this state of peace. So that's the purpose of metta. All the meditation objects the Buddha teach lead to this ultimate state of peace. It's actually the Noble Eightfold Path. The ingredient is the Noble Eightfold Path. So before the Buddha's time, a lot of people also practice breath meditation, but sort of never reach enlightenment. Or a lot of people stare at the fire, they do the fire kasina kind of meditation, but may not reach enlightenment. So when the Buddha came, he taught the same meditation subject to those people who are familiar with those objects of meditation. But the Buddha added the Noble Eightfold Path ingredient. You need to have all the right reflection and everything. Okay, so this is the right view. A person should aim for peace, not aim for something else. Okay, so the criteria, how to practice. One should be able, straight, upright, obedient, gentle, and humble. So basically, good moral character. He should be contented, easy to support, with few duties, living lightly. Okay, I just cover these first two lines. Yeah? Living, contented and easy to support. So this talking to the monks actually. So the monks here, or the monks in the Buddha's time, do not earn money. So they live dependent on the donors, on supporters, just like what we are doing now, or the food that I receive is on the kindness of the donors. So you have to be easily supportable. That means not too demanding. So I don't demand high class food and stuff like that. So for those who are, let's say, not working, do you get any kind of support from children? No, never. Okay, so for those who are getting support, it's good to be not so demanding. But if let's say you're dependent on yourself, then it's totally your freedom. Okay, then next one, with few duties. Okay, who finds the chores here too overwhelming? Who find it too little things to do already? Who find it just nice? Okay, so you must find your moderation. Yeah, find your moderation. So, coming to retreat environment is like baby, toddler, learning how to walk. Learning how to walk. So we are learning how to apply this peace eventually into daily activities. So if let's say you straight away in a busy working environment and tell you, asking our loving kindness, how to do, it's like you're already in the busy mode, the mind active busy mode, very hard to apply. So you need to come to this sort of calm environment, do some R&D, then you apply in a controlled setting in this, when you have nothing to do, then you wish all beings are happy, have this state of peace, and then slowly apply when walking, doing a bit of light chores. So you slowly apply, you carry forward to simple tasks. Then eventually you can multitask, or you do something more complicated. And you can even carry on. So that's the whole idea. So some people think meditation is just sitting. But after this course, then you know that meditation is 24/7, minus the sleeping time. Where as long as we are awake, then we can develop this mindfulness. Okay, living lightly. Okay, living lightly means not too many possessions. So if let's say you go back home, you find you have too much clutter, then you try to see how much attachment you have. See how much you can give away, see how much you can clear. So it's your own personal test. Yeah. Okay, control in senses. Okay, control in senses is actually a high-level practice. Control in sense. So in Buddhism, we believe in the 6 senses: your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. 6 senses. So in science, Western science, they talk about 5 senses only. 5 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. They never talk about the mind. So Western scientists don't think. So if you tell them about the 6th sense, they'll think it's ESP, extrasensory perception, which is not the case. So in Buddhism, the 6th sense, or the 6th sense, is actually whatever you think. That's the mind door. Whatever you imagine that is perceivable to you. For example, if you're using your eye, whatever visual object you see, then that's your eye sense door. You're using an eye sense door to perceive. But your mind sense door is whatever you imagine. So only you can perceive. So the 6 senses are basically the doors to our universe, the doors to our world, our perceivable world. So What do you mean by control in senses? It's not very cheap, huh? Okay. So how this works is, there's a bit of cognitive science behind it. So using one example of one organ, depending on our eyes, depending on an object. For example, let's say you're looking at the bottle. So when the eye is working, the conditions are right, there's lighting, then you have this bottle is here, object, then eye consciousness arise. That means you're aware of this object. Yeah, you're aware of this object. So interestingly, Buddhism places consciousness after the conditions. It's not like there's a fixed, permanent consciousness, like a fixed entity observing everything. No. Consciousness arises after the conditions are met. And it arises just for a while only. How long can you see this thing? How long can your attention stay there constantly without changing? Cannot, right? You jump to other senses, right? You'll be maybe feeling the body or thinking something. So that's how fast is this, the mind, yeah? So what happens is, when the three things meet, when the eye, the object, eye consciousness meet, these three things is called contact. When the three things meet, is called contact. That means you're paying attention. So there can be 1,001 things happening right now, but you may not be aware of everything all the time. Agree? Like right now, if I never mention your heart beating, you never feel your heart beating. But does that mean your heart is not beating? Your heart is still beating, right? Just that when I tell your heart is beating, then you can feel, then you start to pay attention. So that's called contact. That means you narrow down your attention to that particular thing. And when there's contact, then there will be feeling. Whether you find it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Whether you like the color, you don't like the color, you like the shape, don't like the shape. So this is feeling. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. So all these cognitive processes, from the seeing to the feeling, is all reflex action. You cannot do anything about it. You cannot change it. So when you practice loving kindness, you see something unpleasant, or we talk about insect, you see some disgusting insect. You cannot force yourself to like it. If you don't like, means you don't like. Unpleasant feeling. You cannot like everything. So the feeling, there's pleasant and unpleasant feeling. But the next chain of events will determine your suffering. So our reaction to pleasant and unpleasant feeling, if we are not mindful, we will react with greed. We will react with greed. It's called craving. So any pleasant feeling, let's say I like this color, I like this object. If I have craving, then it will develop greed. I want it. So this is called greed. If you don't like it, if let's say, oh yeah, this thing so ugly one, what brand, cheapskate, then you have aversion, anger. Then you want to reject, I don't want to go near this thing. So you have greed or anger. Then there's one more, delusion. Delusion means you sort of believe in permanence. You want to stay in the status quo. So this delusion have, later we'll talk about this later. I've got three kinds of delusion. Desire, form and formless. So earlier on we sort of entered meditation. Any state of peace, you want to hold on to that forever or stay in that state forever. That is one kind of delusion. Form and formless kind of delusion. Craving. And there's another kind of craving in our sensual realm, in our sensual plane, without entering concentration is, for example, let's say, I want to live forever. or I want to be healthy forever. Something you want it to be permanent. You enjoy the status quo of things. So that is another kind of delusion. So these are the three kinds of craving. So once you have craving, then it will develop this thing called clinging. Clinging. So once we react with greed or hatred, then it's a bit unstoppable already. Then there will be this thing called addiction, clinging. I use this term, addiction. For example, I'm not sure whether you experience or have you seen people experience or you yourself experience getting angry the whole day or getting upset the whole day? That is called clinging. But do we know it's a bad emotion? We know it's bad, right? And we want to get out, but cannot get out because it's an addiction. The mind cling to it, cannot let go already, cling it. There's no better option to let go. So we are learning another skill to develop another wholesome emotion. Then at least you cling on to something better first. Cling on to something better first. Then later we talk about detachment. Okay, so this is called clinging. And once you have clinging, it will develop this thing called becoming. Becoming. That means you become a certain personality because of this clinging. So if let's say you are always angry all the time, then I become an angry person. Or I'm a sad person. So personality will develop after this clinging. And once you develop this personality will go through the birth, aging, sickness and death of that personality, of that character. For example, if let's say we visualize or imagine someone you know, let's say you think of your parents. Let's say you think of parents. Then right now, our personality is a child, right? Our relation to our parents is parent, children. But if let's say you look at me, contact, then the personality will be maybe teacher, student, for example. Yeah. So every time when there's new contact, new reaction, new personality. Every moment, new personality. If you think of your let's say you think of your colleagues, then you become a colleague. If you think of your boss, then you become an employee. If you think of your employee, then you become a boss. So every moment, personality change. And that personality will go through that dramas, that kind of responsibilities and dramas and ups and downs and the sufferings of that particular personality. Alright? So when we talk about control in senses, we're actually learning to reduce this self-inflicted suffering. So when we see, hear, smell, think, taste and touch, once we have feeling only, we must have right reflection to prevent this unnecessary kind of craving to cling, so that we don't cling to unwholesome emotional or mental states. So we call this control in senses. So if let's say you're not skilled enough, and that's why there's additional protocols. Additional protocol, that's why you have the 8 precept. Yeah, 5 precept, because never mentioned about no entertainment. So 5 precept, watch entertainment the whole day. And you ask them to control in senses, then you're watching movie, watching drama, how to control in senses. So you need the 8 precepts. Okay, then you want more control in senses, then you talk about, just now we mentioned about the eyes casting downward. This is additional, actually monastic rules. Monastic rules, casting the eyes downwards. Okay, discreet, not impudent, unattached to families. Discreet means don't be show off, be humble. Anybody knows the meaning of impudent? Whose English very good? Nobody? Okay, just treat this as another virtue for the time being. Okay. Then the third paragraph. He should not do any slight wrong, for which the wise man might censure him. Okay, so basically, our ethics and morals, the precepts, we try to be as upright as possible. Try not to create any fault. Okay, so the third paragraph, second half, talks about the action ready, the mental action. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Okay, so this is the right thought. Yeah, may all beings. So sometimes, I'm not sure, have you heard of the Aimi Ui Chandon Metta? Okay, never mind. So the post-canonical version, sometimes it appears in some of the chanting. They'll ask you to wish ourselves well and happy. Then wish our loved ones, and wish the strangers, wish the enemies, and like wish different classes of beings. So all these are actually we consider post-canonical. That means not from the original scripture. So the original scripture talks about all beings straight away, all beings. Because once we think of your loved ones, naturally there'll be feeling whether you like your loved one or you dislike your loved one. So that is feeling naturally happens. So you contaminate the emotion. You think of a neutral person, will have certain emotion. You think of people that you don't like, also you have a different emotion, right? So we are not going to go to that, especially for beginners. Okay, so the original scripture talk about wishing all beings straight away, and the fourth paragraph talks about they are defining what are all beings. Some people, they do not know. They thought all beings means human beings lah. So they exclude animals, they exclude a lot of things. So they're trying to define what are all beings. So whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, middling, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible. So they even talk about invisible beings. Can be those unseen beings or even microscopic beings, living near or far, born or coming to be birthed. May all beings have happy minds. Right? So they wish all beings. So we try not to stereotype, or we try not to have any biases to any particular group. So this non-discriminative, unconditional loving kindness. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither in anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. So this talks about right effort. Do not generate unwholesome thoughts such as anger. So continue to maintain wholesome thoughts. And number 7, as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. So at that moment of like risking the life, you become selfless. So the whole idea is to eventually radiate loving kindness without strings attached, without any kind of, how do you call it, self-agenda. Right, so that's the idea. Okay, then paragraph 8. At any point of time, if you have any question, do ask me. Do raise your hand. if you're not clear. Okay, so one should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving kindness, above, below, across, unobstructed, without hate or enmity. Right, so this is the instruction we've done. Yeah, we wish all beings, all directions. So what is this unobstructed? Unobstructed, my personal opinion means do not control. Some people will control. I want to push my mind to this distance. So once you have a concept of distance, you are already creating a limit. Creating a limit. So if we do not create a limit, we just let the mind expand. Doesn't matter how far. It's an open concept. So this is limitless. Yeah, there is no. You're not limiting it. You're not restricting the mind. Okay, so the number 9. Yeah, whether standing, walking, or sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. Right, so it mentions here, whenever awake, he should develop this mindfulness. And this is called divinely dwelling here. Right, so this is actually part of right mindfulness. Right mindfulness. So normally in the Buddhist right mindfulness, we normally look up at the Satipatthana or the Maha Satipatthana Sutta, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So normally they will talk about impermanence, yeah. But in this case, this one talks about developing this loving kindness. Developing loving kindness. So in circular mindfulness workshops, who have attended mindfulness workshop before? Only, yeah, a few. So a non-Buddhist one, non-Buddhist one. Okay, so normally in the corporate setting, or those circular mindfulness workshop, they actually copy this mindfulness from the Burmese tradition, initially, the original concept. Their Vipassana movement, they copy, and they remove all the religious element. They remove all the religious element. Because the Buddhist teaching is to teach you about dispassion, teach you to let go of greed, let go of clinging. So if too many people start to let go, then renounce and don't want to strive, then company cannot make money. Yeah, so they remove all these religious element, and they'll just tell you be aware. Because anybody can be aware. So at that short moment you're aware, it might recharge your mind a bit, it'll make you like refresh or alert a bit. So that's what they want you to do. So corporate mindfulness. Okay, so for Buddhist mindfulness, we need to deliberately generate wholesome qualities. Yeah, keep on generate wholesome states of mind. Put in right effort to generate wholesome state of mind in all activities. And the last one, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed. Right, so this talks about the end goal. So, or the first sentence or the first paragraph talks about aiming for a state of peace, and the last sentence of the last paragraph talks about achieving. That means it's doable. The Buddha is not going to tell you some lofty concept how to end. You can end suffering, but never teach you the step, and it's not achievable. So it's beautiful at the beginning, middle, and the end. So it teaches you everything. The not just objective, the moral part, how to live your life correctly, the mental training part, and the wisdom part. So it's a complete package. So this sutta, Karaniya Metta Sutta, talks about the complete package. And I end my sharing here.